Terence, my friend, welcome back.
It's a pleasure to talk to you, Art. It's a real pleasure to talk to you.
It's good to hear your voice. Terence, you were just humming along in life. And, of course, I had interviewed you. Gosh, it was not that long ago. We had done a full, like 4-hour interview, I think. And you were sort of humming along in life. And then one day here recently, without a hitch, you were feeling fine, weren't you?
Well, I had 4 days of headaches that I thought were flu. And I had a tour on the mainland. I'd heard about a flu that was preceded by headaches. And
so you thought you had the flu?
I thought I had the flu. And after 4 days of headaches, I went into the bathroom and I had a massive brain seizure, which I knew nothing about. My partner, Christy, wrestled me into our truck, got me down to the local hospital. They did a CAT scan. Within 40 minutes, they could see a brain tumor the size of a quail egg on the right side. They took one look, and Air Medical evacuated me to Honolulu.
All right, this is a tumor in your frontal lobe region?
That's right.
Okay.
As far as I can tell, about 3 inches behind the eyes. And once in Honolulu, they did what they call a stereotaxic assay, where they basically bolt a metal frame to your head and drill in to get a piece of this thing.
Oh, my God.
And the doctors looked at it, and the diagnosis was glioblastoma metaforma, stage 4. So what this thing is the fastest moving brain tumor known to human medicine. And
stage 4.
Stage 4, which is an advanced stage. So immediately they scheduled a procedure called the gamma knife, which can only be done in a few hundred places around the world. The way to think of it is like nuclear acupuncture. 201 sources of cobalt-60 focused on this thing to burn it to a crisp. And they told me flat out, there's a 1 in 10 chance you won't live through this procedure.
Through the gamma knife?
Yes.
A 1 in 10 chance?
Yes.
Well, let's back up a little bit. Before you had the gamma knife, obviously, the doctor sat you down and said, hey, Terence, here's where you are. Here are your options. Here's your prognosis. I mean, what did they tell you before you even made a decision about a treatment?
I said, untreated, where are we headed? And
right.
He said, you'll be dead in 30 days, no question about it.
30 days?
30 days. So looking at that, and I had friends who flew in from London. My brother came from Minnesota. Friends came from California. We had enough brain power in the room to, match the Nobel Prize Committee. We all looked at this, and the gamma knife thing seemed to be the way to go. Well, yesterday it was 2 weeks
since the gamma knife.
They did it, yeah.
All right. My understanding is that the gamma knife took about 90% of the tumor and apparently destroyed it or started it toward destruction, or is that about right?
That's what they believe, 90 to 95%. The trick is these tumors have fractal boundaries. They have messy boundaries. So without follow-up radiation and chemotherapy, the doctors here said it will return within weeks, and you'll be back where you started from. So we spent a very difficult 10 days looking at every cancer therapy, alternative and otherwise, in the world, trying to sort the real stuff from the surreal stuff.
Sure.
And basically what we came down to is what scientific medicine can do for you is something like the gamma knife, or a much scarier operation called a craniotomy, where they actually take off the top of your head and go in for this thing with knives, followed by the radiation treatment, and then they pat you on the back and send you home. And
well, the other option, the surgical option, what did they tell you about that? I mean, they obviously had to tell you something so you could make an informed choice.
They said it was so dangerous and that death was so likely that they didn't want to do it unless there was an absolute crisis.
Well, 30 days to live is pretty much of an absolute crisis.
Yes, so they hold up the gamma knife as a substitute for the craniotomy. And I must say, you know, I after the gamma knife, I walked out of there.
So in other words, it's a walk-in procedure. You lie down, they bombard you with these gamma rays that are so precise that they can go to the area of the tumor, passing through the outside of your head and some portion thereof of your brain or whatever, and doing the cutting or the burning or the destroying just at the tumor site.
That's how they see it. That's what they believe.
That's incredible.
Well, let's hope they know what they're doing.
Well, you're talking to me.
Well, I told them through it. I said, and they didn't fully anesthetize me. It was local anesthetic, so I was with them all the way. And I said, guys, let's keep the oops factor to
down
a minimum here.
Yeah, right. One little oops, and Terence is not Terence anymore.
Well, they tell you, they say, you know, the scary part of this is if we hit the motor strip, you're paralyzed. If we hit the optic nerve, you're blind.
My God.
So, yes, it's a tight space in there, and I've now, after 2 weeks, having had this thing, I keep looking into my mind, trying to see what's missing, what's different. My son Finn was here, and at one point with the surgeon, he turned to him and he said, so this tumor, it's thinking? And the doc thought a while, and then he said, well, yes, it's thinking about something. So I'm trying to figure out what it was thinking about that I'm not thinking about anymore.
In other words, he was suggesting the tumor, the out of control, the cancer, was actually part of your brain. I mean, was that a joke, or do the cells actually, when they're there, function as the brain functions in some way? Is that what you're saying?
Well, apparently so. In other words, these doctors say it had to have been there a year or 18 months. And in that year and 18 months, I've noticed that I got some bifocals. I noticed I was a little more forgetful, but I certainly didn't feel like somebody who was at risk for brain seizure.
The seizure itself, Terence, did you just pass out? Were you in convulsions? What happened?
Well, what I had heard about this flu was that you had bad headaches, and then you would vomit. And so the fourth day, I was lying down with these headaches, and I began to feel nauseated. And I thought, it's going to turn into a flu. So I went into the bathroom, and then it was, and speaking as a psychedelic explorer, all hell broke loose. It was very confusing, and it was confounding. I had no idea what was happening. I was having hallucinations. I was not sure where I was or who I was. I had 2 or 3 more of these seizures as Christy wrestled me down the mountain.
So in other words, in a way, you had a form of consciousness during these seizures, at least enough that you're able to remember what you're telling me right now.
There were flashes of awareness, but a very confused kind of awareness. And here's what the real tip-off to all this was, Art. For a month, leading into these seizures. I had been having dreams that were, the only way I could describe them was I couldn't describe them. They lasted hours, and yet I could not describe them even to myself. And I even said to Christy and my son a few mornings before the seizure, I said, I think I should see a neurologist. These dreams are so bizarre, I can't believe that healthy people have these experiences.
Well, as most everybody in the world knows who has listened to you, you have done a lot of psychedelic drugs.
Yes,
now, it must have occurred to you that one possibility with regard to the dreams was some sort of effect from some psychedelic drug that you have taken at some point in your life. Did that one roll through your mind?
It did. It was like a tryptamine, but it was not like DMT, which is what I know best. But the quality of being indescribable and the quality of being visual were things I could only associate with psychedelics. Once I got over here to Honolulu and we were facing these doctors, I said to them, I said, if you want to guilt trip me, I have a history of psychedelic and recreational drugs. And they just waved it away as preposterous and said, no, this comes out of your genetics, this comes out of the environment, this is not about smoking dope in the evening.
Well, that just tore another question right out of my hands. And so you asked it yourself?
Oh, of course, because I knew that anybody hearing this news about me
was going to say, remember all the drugs he took?
Right.
Yeah.
See what happened to that guy? Here's a bad example.
So now, where are you now? In other words, now the gamma knife procedure is done, some great portion of the tumor has been destroyed, and I guess you've entered a regime, a mainstream regime of what radiation or?
Yes, soft focus radiation. And what they try to do, the way I visualize the tumor is, it's not smooth. It has spurs and kind of processes on it, and they have to focus on those things, or within weeks, the thing will regrow. And these scientific doctors don't hold out much hope. I mean, I think they're trained to look you right in the eye, and they do, and they say 6 to 9 months, no escape.
And so that's what they're telling you now?
That's what they're telling me now, yeah. And
I don't believe that, actually. I actually don't believe it now. I do believe in mainstream medicine's ability to the gamma knife, obviously, with the choice you had, there's no choice there. I'd go for that myself. I'd have done that. I'd made the same choice. And then we all know then there's some left of the tumor, which you don't need much. All you need is one malignant cell left, and it regrows. You said it was one of the most aggressive?
Known to science.
Known to science.
Yes. Yes, so one of the godsends of this situation was that my brother Dennis was here. He's a professional pharmacologist and drug designer, so he could ask the questions, ask the hard questions, really push on these guys, and study the stuff on the internet. And, if you have liver problems or eye problems, straight medical science knows a great deal. But the thing about brain tumors is it's a total frontier. And there are dozens of people out there with machines, drugs, treatments, and who knows whether this stuff works. Most of it you can't even use inside the United States because the government won't allow it. And of course, when people hear they're dying, and many of these people are well healed, they will spend any amount of money, go anywhere to try and live. So we've been looking at all this stuff, and there are machines in the Dominican Republic. There's a guy in Houston. There's a guy at the University of Virginia. There's a cancer clinic in Germany.
Dr. Day, there are a million different alternative treatments, and there are champions for all of them who will say, you must do this, and you must do it right away.
Yes, and if you don't follow my advice, you're choosing grim death.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.